also the Intrepid.
And from there, the jet and the shuttle will go up the Hudson River toward the Tappan Zee Bridge, come back, fly over both New Jersey and Long Island, as far east as Hempstead. Then it will land at Kennedy Airport, where there will be a ceremony to officially welcome Enterprise to New York. That ceremony expected to last about 45 minutes. Joining us for this special historic event is Robert Bazell, NBC News chief science and health correspondent, who has covered the space program extensively. Thank you so much for joining us, Bob. And you have covered the Space Shuttle program from the very beginning, since
the first launch in 1981, right? Yeah.
So tell us about Enterprise, what you know about Enterprise, and what this day really means for those living in the tri-state area.
Well, it means a chance to see a space shuttle, but this, we have to remember, this is the one shuttle part, and this part of the shuttle is called the orbiter. The space shuttle is officially called the Space Transportation System because it had those gigantic rockets on the outside, the solid rocket boosters, and the external fuel tank, and that was the system. This part that's on the back of the 747 is called the orbiter, and that was what went in space. But this one, the Enterprise, never went into space. Yeah. It was a mock-up that was built to practice landings at Edwards Air Force Base primarily, and to get the initial kinks out of the shuttle. It took many years. This was built in the 60s, and it didn't just get off the ground until the real launch of a different space shuttle until 1981.
And Bob, what's incredibly ironic about this day, we have this dramatic pass through New York City with the Enterprise, and the Enterprise was really the guinea pig of the space shuttle program. It did the approach and landing tests, as you mentioned, and it's passing through, we think, is the top of the Empire State right now through Midtown as it travels up the west side. So it's really, really quite impressive to watch, and just very ironic that there's all this hoopla over the space shuttle.
Well, it's amazing. The space shuttle program was in many ways had enormous problems, including the tragic deaths of 14 astronauts in 2 major disasters. But it still has remained this enormous symbol, especially for children, of people going into space. This is how Americans have been getting into space for all these decades now, and so it's very important to see it. When we look at the Enterprise now, and there it goes right over the Intrepid. What a great shot. It does not have the engines on it. There were engines mounted on this vehicle, but they've been kept at the Kennedy Space Center to be put on a possible future space vehicle.
And you can see a number of people gathered on the pier there, right next to the Intrepid, watching Enterprise fly over. This is, what a sight for people here in New York City, New Jersey. I know a number of school children are out. This is a great day that they can write about, write essays about, and remember for a lifetime. I had said earlier that I hoped that this would happen on a Saturday so I could bring my daughter out and we could watch this historic event. Robert, without Enterprise, travel into space would never have happened.
Well, it was an integral part of the beginning of the space shuttle program. That they practiced the landings, and they took it up on a 747 like this, then let it go. And that was a very dramatic thing to watch as the shuttle moved away from the 747 and then landed primarily at Edwards Air Force Base in those days because they needed the space to do it. But still, Enterprise has all the controls inside of the space shuttle, and it looks exactly like the other orbiters, the other 5 that were space-worthy. So it's a great thing that we have it in New York because, as you know, there was enormous competition among cities about where this would go. One went to Los Angeles, one went to the Smithsonian, one went to the Science Center in California.
And Houston missed out.
And Houston was really upset. There was a congressional investigation because there wasn't one at the Johnson Space Center in Houston.
And we can actually thank Senator Schumer for making sure we have this here. He fought hard to make sure that the Enterprise would come to New York. And we're following the Enterprise as it's headed north and west down the West Side Highway towards the Tappan Zee Bridge. I understand we also have a live camera over in Weehawken where we've seen, I guess, hundreds of people gathered near the Statue of Liberty to kind of watch Enterprise as it makes its way through New York. And right now you should be able to see it from Rockland County, Bergen County, the Bronx, all that area. We're able to watch it. And Bob, an interesting story about this space shuttle. It was supposed to be called the Constitution, correct? Because it was setting off in 1976, which coincided with the bicentennial of the country. But we can thank Trekkie fans across the country, right?
They lobbied hard.
They lobbied hard, and they won. And then NASA, which loves publicity in many ways, said, why not? Let's make everybody as excited about this as possible. And the Enterprise was the name that it was given. And for a long time, this was what we saw as space shuttle flight, was the back of the 747, and then it would let go and land. And that part was really critical.
Yeah, the Trekkies had a letter-writing campaign to President forward asking that the orbiter be named after the Starship Enterprise. And looky who won. So it is 10:37 right now. It appears that Enterprise is pretty much right on schedule. So around 10:35, we saw the first flyby past the Intrepid. Good viewing for anyone who's out there, even if you want to head over to Pier 86 right now in Midtown, because it's supposed to make another flyby around 10:55. Right now, it's headed north to the Tappan Zee Bridge, where it will turn around, and you can get a good viewing from any place along the Hudson River in Bergen, Rockland, Westchester counties, south